peace and blessings, peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum, shalom. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Doc and the Radical. And we have a special guest with us today, Sister Cassie. Peace and blessings, Sister Cassie. Peace and blessings, Doc. Come on in, Sister Cassie, and introduce yourself to everybody.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Well, I am the founder of Realm in the Bush and an author. And Realm in the Bush is it's a foundation that helps either men that are just coming out, transitioning from prison to ages 18, 25, and give them paid on the job training. And we also help high schoolers that have just graduated, and we give them on the job training also. I'm an author of a book called A Mother's Love and just loving Black people.
Perfect. I like that. Doc, you want to come on in and everybody already know who you are, but let's talk about you anyway.
All right, Dr. James Thomas Jones III, African American Studies professor, hail from the great state of Ohio, proud father of a son who is getting too old too fast. That's about it. I do manhood studies. I, love being here whenever I can be here and whenever I'm called upon. And just looking forward to productive, constructive conversation.
All right. Thanks, Doc. And I want to go ahead and welcome in our audience. We have Twin Pyramid. Peace and blessings. Glad you're here. We got Deacons of Reality. Peace and blessings. Glad you're here. We got Brother Bakari. Peace and blessings. Glad you're here. We got Brother Willie Rivers as well. Peace and blessings. We are glad you are here. All right. So the house is filling up. And our topic today is Americanism really anti-Blackness? We want to look at that and really understand what Americanism is, and then what is real Blackness? How should we think? How should we act? What makes us who we are? I believe that Black people in America, who ancestors were enslaved, I believe that we are a special, set apart people. And I believe that so thoroughly with all my being. So a lot of people understand Americanism as being white folks. And so I'm going to use a question that Jesse, what's his name? Jesse always uses when he talks to people who are quote unquote pro-Black. He asks them, do you love white people? And so that's the first question that I'm going to throw out to our panel. Do you love white people? Sister Cassie, do you love the cracker?
Oh my goodness, what a question. I love Black people. How about that? I love Black people, period. I want to say something else, but I'm not. I won't be nice.
No, speak your truth.
Okay, let me just say one thing. Why would I love somebody that even today shows you every day and all day how much they hate you? That to me is mental illness. If I can still show love to a person that hung my ancestors, that cut babies out of their stomachs, even today, that I'm seeing where our men aren't even getting jobs, but they show you just by you walking in their stores how they feel about you. So why would I love somebody like that?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Thank you, Sister Cassie. Doc?
I can't say that at my age that I love anyone predicated upon just skin tone. I'll say it this way, and I hope it makes perfect sense. And it is quite simply that there's quite a few Black folk that I guess I could, if I stretch things, I could theoretically say that I love them but in actuality, there's some of them that I really don't care about either or care for. My quotient of love has become something that is in many ways shifted, and I like to consider myself the consummate mirror. Uh, as Rakim Allah says, "Speak your peace and the feelings mutual," and that's kind of where I'm at with black folk, white folk, brown folk, red folk, and yellow folk as well.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. So, and I'll go answer the question myself. No, I don't. I don't love the crack. I could never love them um, because they. What is the justification of this love? There's no justification for it whatsoever. So I can't give it. You haven't earned it. There's no such thing, and that's something that I believe definitely has to be stated, so there's no misunderstanding or ambiguity about anything that where we should come from. Um, when we think of Americanism, how do you define that, Sister Cassie? We'll start with you. What's your definition of Americanism?
Racism, a lot of hatred, anger, rage is all I see from Americanism. I don't see any love. I see a lot of prejudices. I see a lot of um, just downright a murderous spirit that's not giving Black people the chance that we deserve, that has a whole system set up against you. So it's very hard for me to see it any other way than what it is for me. I don't see any love. I don't see anybody reaching out, trying to make things right among Black people. But you call us Americans. How? If we're Americans, you treat us the way you would treat yourself. You would treat us the way you treat everybody else. We're the only ones that I see that's being shot down in the streets. But I still want to call myself an American or Americanized mindset? No. So I see a lot of anger and rage, hatred, period. I don't see any love. So I don't even call myself an American. I pass.
So, Sister Cassie, let me ask you this. When former President Trump says in his speech to CPAC, I believe it was, he says that I am your voice, I am your retribution, I am your justice, I am your warrior. How do you receive that?
He was telling you who he really is. He was showing us who America really is for us. In his mindset, in his eyes. He was telling us, to me, that they are the law. Maybe I'm hearing the question different, but to me, when he said, I am the, what did he say? The retribution, he was telling you who they really are. So when a person tells you and shows you who they really are, why is it so hard for us to understand that? We still want to continue saying, oh, I'm an American. But they've already shown you who they are. They've already told you. He told you he's the law because he's going to hold you accountable, but not himself. So that means I can do whatever I want to do, but you better not even think about doing anything. You better not even think about breathing because I'm going to come down on your head. But I and people like me can do whatever we want to do. I pass.
Thanks, Sister Cassie. Doc, Americanism, what is that to you?
To me, Americanism is this great social experiment that occurred with all of these people from these various lands coming together. Nothing more and nothing less. And it's been a contest through and through. I don't give white folk one power over me, even the ability to define definitions and realities. My argument is quite simply that it's actually Black folk who are the truest Americans. because we've stood for the theoretical principles of this nation more than any other group, be they white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, Russians, Polish, Chinese, Japanese, African Americans, persons of African descent, Black folk. We've always been the most logical and loyal to the bare bones principle of what this nation is. What I think that most people are making a mistake in doing in allowing white folk to define things is very similar to the idea of the Holocaust. If you say Holocaust, everyone's mind goes to Dachau, they go to Auschwitz, they go to the Jewish Holocaust and not the African Holocaust, because you allow them to define what the terms are, and really in many ways what the chessboard is going to look like. So for those who equate Americanism with the idea of it being white folk ruling, I disagree. I believe that what you're actually doing is using a malformed definition, which is quite simply white world supremacy. Now, we're going to talk about white world supremacy. Let's talk about white world supremacy. If we're going to talk about white folk, let's talk about white folk. But to cross-pollinate that and to allow them to define and in many ways eradicate and remove our birthright, which is due to us as a result of the suffering and pain of our ancestors, I just disagree with that. I don't let them define a single thing for me. They are not the standard in any moment of my personal life or my intellectual life.
Doc, let me ask you, how do you, because when they came up with it, and then the white folk.
Okay, white folk. Okay,
right.
okay.
When they,
sure we talking about.
Yeah, when they came up with it and they defined what Americanism is, they defined what a real American is. So
from their perspective.
Right. And they make that perspective stick. So how do you?
I don't know if they've made that perception stick. I believe that the only way that perception sticks is quite simply if you give them the power to define. But I've read their history books. I've studied them. Okay, I've read their footnotes, to be honest with you, and I can tell you that they have no position anywhere at any moment at any time to be the authority upon anything. Anytime they try to be the definer or the authority based upon anything, it is self-serving and beneficial for them. We must fight them. We talk about fighting them at every turn. We must fight them even in the realm of definitions and intellectualism.
So my question then, how do we take what they defined as Americanism and they have it in their schools and the books and all this stuff? Mm-hmm. How do you take that and redefine it so your definition is in those books and in the schools and stuff like that? How does that process begin?
You create your own books. You create your own educational system. You create your own reality. It's a reality that is going to conflict with theirs because their reality is predicated, as Sister Cassie said, quite simply in oppression of Black folk, Black men in particular, in regards to her organization. Now, if she allows them to set the parameters of, well, listen, you won't get a job, well, then it's game over. So we must attack them on that. And we have to, as our people have always done, we've made a way out of no way. So you create your own schools. You divest from their definitions, from not necessarily from their physical proximity, because we're all kind of landlocked, but you divest in every way you can. It's a shame that Black students have read the Diary of Anne Frank and have no idea what the difference is between Mutulu, Afeni, or Assata Shakur. We have to redefine what it is to be Black and not rely upon them to define it for us. You got to remember how important the educator, the teacher is. They're forming the reality of what's possible and what is impossible. You know, it's not hard to really figure out that Black children who sit at the foot of a white school teacher or a white school system or principal or superintendent that hates Black folk and disrespects them at every school board meeting, if you allow that to be the primary pourer into your children, don't be surprised when that child hates you just like the one that taught them hate them. It's natural. It's to be expected. It's by design, and that's not even conspiratorial. It's just logical.
Right. Excellent. Excellent. Um, when I'm gonna share screen really quick, um, and take a look at this. So the American Legion, one of their pillars is number 3, and they call it Americanism. And they say that the nation's cultural, moral, and patriotic values have been under attack for decades, a disheartening trend that continues today. Prayer has been removed from school. The U.S. flag is no longer protected from desecration. The Boy Scouts of America have faced serious legal challenges in some communities they serve. Immigration laws have defiled reference to God on the U.S. currency and the Pledge of Allegiance and on public monuments have been challenged by a minority of voices whose vision of America is far different than that of our founding fathers. The American Legion is an organization dedicated to God and country, with membership of military veterans who take deep pride in the U.S. flag and all that it means. Since its inception nearly 100 years ago, the Legion has been a stalwart champion of patriotic values, morals, culture, and citizenship. The Legion's pillar of Americanism embodies its devotion to law and order, the raising of wholesome youth, and educated and law-abiding citizenship, and respectful observance of patriotic holidays and remembrance. So this again is from the American Legion. They talk about the nation's cultural, moral, patriotic values that are under attack. When we look at America, what is this culture, this moral, this patriotic values that are under attack from your perspective? And I tried all week to get a member of the American Legion to come join us, but they didn't have I would say they didn't have the strength to come on board and have this conversation. So we're going to have it without them. Sister Cassie, what is these values, these morals, this culture that is under attack that you think the American Legion is talking about? And does this or better yet, let me ask this way. This culture, moral, and patriotic values that they're representing here, do you see America having those same cultural, moral values that you see America with? Do you see that being one of the same, or is it different?
It's a lot different from what America that we're looking at now. As far as we're concerned, we know how they've always been. This is nothing new. But now what I'm seeing is with our children, for example, I'm seeing the gay pride. I'm seeing them being taught in the libraries about homosexuality, LGBT. I'm seeing a lot of dysfunction, even with our children. They have a law now that they're saying, even in California, that if your child comes to you and say, I want to change my sex, you have to oblige. You're the parent. They can't even go to the store and buy a pack of cigarettes, but they can determine their sexuality. And you, being the parent, have to allow a 6-year-old, 5-year-old tell you that I no longer want to be a boy. Then you have to oblige by that. That's one thing. I'm seeing another thing with our men. I'm seeing a lot of gayness going on. I'm seeing a lot of transgender. You know, you had the other day, you got transgender women or whatever you call them. I don't know, men. What I don't know. It's just so much going on right now that won a pageant, a woman's pageant. What are we doing here? It's almost like they're switching places. You want to call men women and women men. You want to switch places. We have a lot of our boys walking around in dresses. Go to Morehouse. This is morals. What morals are we talking about? America has never had morals. This is something that's always been. We know how they are. They've been sleeping with their babies and other stuff for a long time. So now you want to come to us and say, "Oh, you want to talk about morals? You want to go to Africa and talk about their morals?" But look, what are you doing? You want us to be like you. But we have to understand, even as far as how they're trying to genocide Black people, who you see your Black men with, white women. I mean, they're really, going all out for this one. Every man you look at now has a white woman, but it's called genocide. So we have to get back to the basis of understanding what's really going on and understanding their tactics and understanding who our enemy is. And I think we've forgotten. We want to now say that our women are the head of the household. You had a movie called The Woman King. Since when women can be kings? I'm just saying, we as Black people know how to do this. We know what to stand for. It doesn't change. But you allow other people that you're supposed to be leading, that you're supposed to be telling, guiding and training and teaching, you're allowing them to teach you dysfunction. This thing has turned, and we gotta wheel it back in. Because we got dysfunctional people teaching. You got a man sitting at the library, look like a whole, I don't know what, come on. And you got them reading to your babies. Now they're writing books in the library for our babies, talking about same sex and reading, provocative books to 8-year-olds. What's really going on? Because if we really read the LGBT agenda, the agenda tells you what's going on. They said we are after your children. We are after heterosexual men. That's very dangerous. And to act like we don't hear that and to act like we don't see it, you're blinded. You've been brainwashed. You've been hoodwinked again. We allow these dysfunctional people to tell us what a real man is and what a real woman is. They asked a Black judge that they wanted to appoint, what's a real woman? What did she say? She couldn't even answer the question. Why? Because she's part of their system. That's the sad part about it. And everybody act like they didn't hear what she said. Well, you don't know what a real woman is? Really? But you're one, aren't you? I rest my mic.
Awesome. Doc?
I muted my mic. Yes, sir.
What do you see America's cultural, moral, and patriotic values, what the American Legion is talking about? Do you see America's moral, cultural, and patriotic values the same, or do you see it's different?
What do you mean by the same? Do I see it as the American Legion sees it?
Yes.
No, not at all. Not at all. My evaluation criterion, we constantly talk about B1. My evaluation criterion is how it impacts Black folk. And so I'm not wedded to, I'm not chained nor wedded to the idea of what the founding fathers created, because the founding fathers, you have to think that the gentlemen that penned those reverberating words that we still talk about to this very day, that all men are created equal, went home later on that day to Monticello and raped Sally Hemings and probably produced a child. So I'm not wedded to that. I recognize that these ideas, and this is the beauty, the blessing and the curse of America. I realize that these values, these principles, these morals are not static. They have been, they will be changed over time. And that's what, as the sister Cassie was talking about with the LGBTQ and the bullish way that they've been able to enter into your schools. They are dictating what are the rules of engagement. I wrote a piece years ago talking about the idea of reparations and how the Jewish community has been able to arrange for them to get reparations, and their suffering did not happen on this soil. And Black folk whose suffering happened on this soil, we put money together to put up that African American museum. That had to be raised. The United States Holocaust Memorial Museum, they didn't have to raise money for that. But it's all in the narrative. It's all in organization. It's all in education. That's what I was talking about in my previous answer when I said quite simply that you just divest from what it is that they're teaching. The same way that the LGBTQ, they divested from the idea of what we would consider a commonsensical moral position of no, you cannot have transvestites teaching our children. They said that's not our reality. That doesn't work for us. So they went ahead and got organized, elected officials, and those that they didn't elect, they told them, if you speak out against us, it will be hell to pay. You will not be there next time. So, no, I'm not with the American Legion, the idea of protecting these sort of sacred cows that they have. Those sacred cows, many of them should be slaughtered,
Mm,
in
that's
honor of Ogun, okay, and have something else put in its place that services black folk. But you will never get there as long as you're chained and you're wedded to their system of education and their system of learning and therefore their reality. As Christian as our people are, why haven't we been able to translate and understand the idea that as a man thinketh, so is he? So if you are allowing your oppressor to educate your to him, you say, brother Muhammad,
Doc, we're not hearing you good.
Looks like he frozen.
Yeah. Doc, you froze up. Your voice, your stuff started like you're in the Matrix, and now we can't hear you at all. Okay, so he'll jump back in. Uh, so, Sister Cassie, let me ask you this while Doc is out. Do you say their Pledge of Allegiance?
Can I play the one that Jill Scott played? That's the one I play. The one that Jill Scott. That's the only Pledge of Allegiance I'm gonna say. I mean, can we play that real quick? I'm just saying. That's the only one I know. I love that one. Now, if you want to play that one, I can sing it all day long. That's, I'm just saying. Let's be real here. That was an amazing Pledge of Allegiance. I'm just saying. I mean, I want to make it like part of the show.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Doc, you're back now.
Nobody that don't like
I'm
me.
back now, huh?
Yeah, you back now. You want to go back and say that over again because we couldn't hear what you were saying.
Oh wow. Basically, what I was saying in a nutshell is that as Christian as our people are, we always have that sword, that full armor of God on us, but we don't apply Scripture to our lives. What Scripture tells you, as a man thinketh, so is he. Use your common sense and just realize that basically, if you're allowing your oppressor to pour into you and your children to dictate what your political priorities, values, or even the absence of those are, you're being controlled by them. And that's what it comes down to. So no, I'm neither wedded nor chained to anything that the founding fathers said. I recognize that we have constitutional amendments because that perfect document wasn't so perfect at all. But it's on black folk to go ahead and do as other groups have done, which is quite simply say, well, that doesn't work for me. So if it didn't work for the LGBTQ community to have to be shunned and to remain closeted up, hiding their identity, that didn't work for them. So they got organized and they got active and they changed that. Black folk can do the exact same thing, but we have to divest from the silliness and the momentary titillation that our people get from hip hop culture, from social media, and from reality television. It is truly a shame that we seem to act as if we have no understanding of political priorities and what is truly important in this world. And I yield, brother.
Thank you, Doc. And so, Doc, you're talking about a separation, correct?
Not necessarily a physical separation. I don't believe that our people are prepared for physical separation. Let's just start with a baby step, and let's start with a separation within our communities. You're already separate. You're already segregated. So why not start a school to feed the minds of your children who are there, as the Jewish community has done, as the Arab community has done, as every community has done. They educate their own. We're the only ones that don't educate our own. Therefore, we have multiple generations of individuals who believe that success in the educational realm is predicated upon going to work for some white corporation.
So then the separation first has to start in your mind.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. I mean, come on now. Can you imagine if we separated and our minds weren't right? We would devolve into fulfilling every single stereotype and caricature that they had of us. Because let's be very clear, there is a significant population of Black folk who don't have the right to be referred to as Black folk. They're not one of us. There's something else. There's something that reflects what white America thinks of us. They believe, and James Baldwin said it beautifully, that the white man is the one who needed to and had to and created the nigger, because the nigger serves his purposes.
Definitely, definitely, definitely. Sister Cassie, did you want to add anything to what Doc just said?
Yeah, I would just want to add a little bit. Some of these Black folk, I would want to separate with them anyway, because their mindset is not right. You have Black folk that are ready to separate. We are building now, building our own tables. That's the reason I formed the foundation, because I want to teach our babies that we don't have to beg them for anything. We can build our tables right here and right now. This is why I've been putting them in on-the-job training, trying to help them to understand that you get trained for 12 months, you take that certification, and you go and start your own business. Now, I know all of them won't, they're not business minded, but the ones that are, I'm going to use them in the future to be able to train some of my other babies. But we have to start now separating, because some of us, we're ready. Some of these some of these Black folk will never, ever, ever be ready to separate. They're going to always see massa as their massa. And just like Harriet Tubman said, they would have been free, but they didn't even know they were slaves. So those are the ones I don't even want to take with me. But the ones that's ready to build, let's separate and build. Let's go buy some land tomorrow, because I'm with it. We have a school. We have several Black schools that we can support right now, that we can take our babies. And this should have been something that we did this year. Take your babies out of their schools. You complain about them every day, all day. You're not tired of them abusing your children yet? What are we waiting for? We have several Black schools. You can start online for now and support those schools. And then get one in your neighborhood. Get one in your area. Well, as Black folk, we just want to complain, and we want to complain and do nothing. No, it's tired. It's done. No more complaining. Let's get up and build. And if you're ready to build, let's build. Because Ram in the Bush is ready.
Exactly. Excellent, excellent. So, and I started with you, Sister Cassie, but we didn't get this. So I'm going to ask you again about the pledge. Do you say the Pledge of Allegiance?
Can I play the pledge that I say? You remember Jill Scott pledge? I'm just saying, that's the only pledge I know. That's the only pledge that I know. That pledge is that made the highlight of my day. Every time I think about it, I often play it. I still play it because it just makes me happy. It just makes me feel bubbly inside. I'm just saying. But no, why would I say a pledge to a country that don't know how to treat me? You had Black men that went to the service. They came back and they hung them in their uniform. You just had a Black soldier that was maced by a police officer that serving his country. You know what they gave him? They gave him $1 for his lawsuit. So why would I pledge to that? Why would I pledge to Satanists? Because a lot of our forefathers, who we want to call Christian people, they were Satanists. These are Luciferians. We know that. So why, again, would I serve or pledge to a country that I know hates me, that I know is serving Satan? I rest my mic. But if we can do Jill Scott, that'll be nice.
Okay, we'll put her up in there. We'll play it. Doc, let me ask you: do you say the Pledge of Allegiance?
No, but my reason for not saying the Pledge of Allegiance is that my highest priority, my allegiance is God. I won't pledge allegiance to anything beneath God. However, if you know you really want to talk about the idea of pledging allegiance, I just always ask this of everybody for consistency and thoroughness. That quite simply, if that's what it says with liberty and justice for all, adhere to that. You don't get to be a buffet believer and talk about one nation under God, indivisible, the republic, and at the end begin to mumble the idea of, with liberty and justice for all. Just stay true to what it is that you say. America is and always will be up for ownership and contestation. We must fight as groups for our place in this nation, and that's just what it is. So I see no need to pledge allegiance to a flag. Um, if that nation and that flag is honoring God, well, I'm equally covered because that's who I pledge my allegiance to.
Why do you think, Doc, that it was mandatory, and I believe it still is, that even the children, when they're in school, that they have to say the Pledge of Allegiance?
Well, the thing is that what you're doing with that, why it's mandatory, you're building Americans. Let's be very clear about that. That's what the entire thing is about. It's about the sharing and instilling and indoctrination and propagation of an idea of nationalism, and that entity that you're to develop nationalism towards is America. The problem with that, and just historically speaking, when you're talking about the U.S. Civil War ending, Lincoln has two choices. He can either punish the South or he can forgive the South. He chooses the milder forgiving the South. However, the 10% plan that he instills calls for all voting age males, those who were in the Confederacy, 10% of them to come down to their local county seat and take that oath of allegiance. It's about shoring yourself up as a nation. It's about creating Americans. You have to have some identity, some central core identity if you are to survive. What you are seeing right now is the unraveling of that central core identity, with different groups, identity politics raging in this nation, different groups jostling and fighting for a increase in their share of the American pie. So it's about nationalism. It's about indoctrination. It's about trying to get everybody on the exact same page. Unfortunately, the page of white world supremacy, that white might equals right, is not holding sway with those who are not white, male, and middle American. Other folk are hollering and they're speaking up.
Mm. Awesome, awesome. And Sister Cassie, you want to add your opinion? Why did they make our children and everybody say the Pledge of Allegiance? What's your thoughts?
We have to understand that this country was never a Christian country. Never. Somebody told us it was. But when you really look at the foundation of this country, we are pledging our allegiance to Satan. People have to understand these people are Satanists. It's been proven over and over and over. And when we send our children to their schools, that's who we're giving our children over to. Moloch. Look up Moloch. You see this demon thing with all the kids around it, right? That's who we're pledging our children to. Why do you think these kids acting so crazy? They are wild. These schools it's not getting any better. It's wild kingdom. I had to go up there for my granddaughter, and I'm looking around this, and we're talking about 8th graders, 7th graders. These boys are switching at 7th grade. What are you doing? What's going on? So now you have Satan's clubs in our schools. So what do we really believe, and what do we really think is going on in these schools? How many parents actually go up to these schools on a regular, not just after school, on a regular, just to stand there and see what's going on in these schools? We don't have time. So we give our children over to Satanists And then when they come acting crazy, you want to say, pray for our children, take them out of their schools. What are we going to pray for when you're sending them back in the lion's den every day? So what are we praying for? We have to understand the history of this country. When we understand the history of this country, we'll understand what's really going on. And what are they getting ready for right now? All of this transgender, all this LGBT, and all this homosexual, all this dysfunctionalness. This is dysfunctional. And we don't even understand it. You got black folk rooting it on. You got black men. I'm, LGBT first instead of black first. LGBTs aren't LGBTs first. They are culture first. They white first. But black people don't want to be black folk. We want to be everything but. But we have to get to the place where we get tired, and we're tired of seeing what we're seeing, and educate our own children. What are we waiting for? It makes no sense. Every day, you see how they treat your children. These people are toxic. You got toxic Karens in these schools, toxic Bobs, who is calling your children all kind of names, who's throwing your children on the ground, who's doing all kind of stuff to your children. But we still aren't tired enough. When are we going to be tired? When are we going to protect our children? I have gotten to the point where I really don't believe that black folk care about their children. Because if we did, we wouldn't see what's going on in these schools and let it happen. Either there's mental illness going on, or we just so blinded, or we just love white folks so much that I just don't care what you do to my child. Mm-hmm. It's ridiculous. We work on their jobs, and they treat you like crap, and you'll stay there 30 years. Something's wrong with this picture. Mm-hmm. Something is definitely wrong with this picture. I rest my mind.
Well, Sister Cassie, let me ask you this, and just playing, the other side of the role here. Was there ever a time that America's values or America's God was the same God as ours? Do you think that there was ever a time?
Never. We don't serve the same God. You tell me to forgive, but you don't. I'm just saying. Caesar Borgia, look him up. They gave you Jesus Christ, gave you Caesar Borgia, does anybody, let's really get down to the nitty gritty. Does anybody know the history of the man with the white man with the blonde hair? Do we know the history? Look up Caesar Borgia. Look up what Da Vinci, Leonardo da Vinci. Look at where it all came from. You have a gay guy. They put him in, Leonardo da Vinci painted his picture. He's gay now, but you have him in every church. So what are you telling me? You're promoting homosexuality. You've been promoting it since the beginning of time with this gay white guy with the blonde hair and blue eyes. Look up Caesar Borgia and you'll understand who I'm talking about. That's who we portraying as Jesus. That's who we portraying as Christ. They tell you, it's a whole lot of, let's go with the Roman Catholic Church, who created all of this religion, who stands for homosexuality and transgender and pedophilia. You see the priests, what they do to little babies? That's part of their religion. But we're not doing our homework. We're not doing our research because we're too lazy believing what grandma told us or what they told you. They pass down this mess. They don't serve the same God we serve. They don't do anything that Bible tells them to do. And they served you pork knowing you ain't supposed to eat it. Served you the pig's bottom part. And you just slopping it up. You don't even have sense enough to do your research on that. You still slopping it up. And they tell me I'm going to eat my pork as long as I live. Okay. Do you understand why you got health problems? Eating all your bacon and your pork and your chitlins. And do we understand what's really going on? Do we understand that we have a certain diet that they gave you to keep you in bondage? And you keep on continuing. We don't know how to break away. Do we not know how to free our minds? Do we not know? Google is your friend, family. Start Googling and understanding. Research the history. Research their history. Research the Catholic Church's history. Research these holidays. Research what they mean. We just continue doing stuff over and over and over. We're just not learning anything. Christmas, what does it stand for? Thanksgiving, what are we celebrating? Really? Massacre of millions. Valentine's Day, Easter. What in the world? Do we really believe what we see in here? We have to do better, family. We have to. What are we waiting for? You waiting on white folk to tell you it's okay to do your own research? You waiting on white folk to tell you it's okay to be free? We waiting on white folk to tell us everything. You won't even start building. You waiting on master to tell you it's okay to build your own schools? They're not going to tell you. And they hoping and praying you don't get it. They hoping and praying that you continue allowing your children, your boys, your children. Keep on allowing me to teach and educate your children. You ain't seen nothing yet. Wait till the pedophile becomes legal. Wait till bestiality becomes legal. Oh, what's coming? These some nasty folk. We ought to know that from look at your slavery books, what happened. They don't even put the real stuff in there. They don't want you to read it. They taking those books out of schools. It's crazy. And you act like you don't see it. You act like you've forgotten. Shh, don't talk too loud. White folk may hear you. I don't give a dang go. They need to hear us. Because I'm tired of you acting like your brain dead.
Mm-hmm.
I rest my mic.
All right. Thank you,
Sister
Cassie. Doc, this God that the American Legion talks about, that's America's God. What's your idea of that God? Who is that God that they're speaking of?
The God of opportunism. That God is not a God that has any moral basis whatsoever. That God could best be equated to a demonic, satanic God, because whatever is the desires of their heart, they could turn to that God, and that God would sanction whatever it is that they wanted to do. Manifest destiny, that the North American continent was the white man's. A just God would have never given them James Monroe that idea, because it leads to the Holocaust of Native and Indigenous people. So this is a God of opportunism. This is a God that absolves one of their sins, if they could even be considered sins in his eye, just by asking for forgiveness. Their God has never served us well, and he never will serve us well. Their God is one that allows them to do whatever they want to do. They're as wild as banshee. So it's not a stretch of the imagination to talk about their God being something other than heavenly, and he's certainly not divine and undergirded by any sense of justice whatsoever.
So Doc, let me just ask you on that. So you're saying that what the white folks did with Manifest Destiny and taking the West, because some could say, well, yeah, the Indians may have had it, but they wasn't using it. So since they wasn't using it, then, you lose it because you wasn't using it. What's your thought with that?
Well, what I would say to that is quite simply, let's look at the state of Earth, the state of the North American continent, when the so-called backward engine had control of it. And let's look at it now. The fact that I'm sitting up in a place where I have to have the AC blowing 24/7 to keep from having a heat stroke, where people are dying outside, where different continents around this globe are warm to a point that it's unprecedented. So to say that they were not using it because they were living in communion with Mother Nature versus what these industrial giants have done to the earth, nothing could be more disputable than that very thing. I guarantee you, if Mother Earth were able to speak to us, she would quite simply blow a wind that would keep any European ship, including that of Christoph Columbus, from reaching the West, because they've been a plague and a scourge that has made the earth so sick that she is not going to die, but she's going to kick out any of the viruses and disturbances that have led to her being unstable. We're not going to be here much longer if they're not stopped.
Awesome. All right. So let's talk about the other side of that coin, because the topic is Americanism really anti-Blackness? So we've defined Americanism pretty good in what it is and what it's not. Let's talk about this Blackness. What is it? How do you define it? Both of you had said, if I'm going to paraphrase y'all correctly, that you have black people and then you have niggas. So within a group, you done cut the group even smaller to be black and then niggas. And I think it was
Chris
one of
Rock.
the comedians, Chris Rock, who talked about that same thing. You got black people and you got niggas. And then even President Trump broke it down. He said you got African Americans and you got black people. So he even made that there's a difference between African Americans. He said, African Americans, we got tax cuts for you. Black people, we got something else for you. Okay? So everybody is chopping blackness up. So my question is, the niggas that y'all separate from, aren't they just a symptom of being under Americanism? Because it sounds like y'all are saying that these are part of the problem instead of the symptom of a problem. And with that, Doc, I'll let you go first.
It goes directly back to what I was talking about with James Baldwin, that the white man created the nigger. That's not our fight, okay? Because there's some of us who have been able to sidestep that. What we're arguing about is not about the poverty. We're not arguing about the the lack of teaching. What we're really talking about is the reveling in ignorance, the fight against doing something for black folk. I'm not talking about conforming for white folk. Ultimately, what we're talking about, and this is why I really applaud in my heart Sister Cassie's organization, because in every way, what she's talking about is helping to sturdy up, to shore up one of the foundational pillars of a great black nation, and that is the black family. We have to get black men to a point where they are quote unquote marriageable, meaning being able to not only protect, but also to provide for their families in a substantial manner. Now, having said that, many of these people at some point have been victimized by Uncle Sam, by the white man, and what have you. We're here to help them to get out of that victimization. But under no circumstances are we responsible for fighting them to get out of that situation. If that's where they choose to be, we shall give them what the Lord said to give. That if you come into a place that does not want to receive the truth, you take off your sandals and you shake even the dirt from them and keep going on. So it's not as if we're abandoning them. However, when you adopt and you revel in a culture that you know yourself is dysfunctional and not going to uplift you at all, we got a problem. Okay? A significant problem.
Okay. Sister Cassie, what say you?
Let's remember how we got here. We didn't get here by ourselves. Okay. But like I said before, we have black folk that's in leadership positions, able to make a difference, and will not, and have not. So what we have to do, okay, let's look at it this way. Everything to life, there's a consequence, right? And the consequence for you getting in leadership position and not doing what you were put in that position to do, because you're so busy taking masses' money, you need to be dealt with, whatever way that means for you. And this is what white folk do. This is how they deal with their own, right? You don't do what you're supposed to do. You off code. You get dealt with. They need to be dealt with. When Candace Owens opened her mouth against her own, Obama didn't do, had a whole 8 years and did absolutely nothing for his own people. He needs to be dealt with. But we've let this go so long. How do we wheel it in? We're going to have to get to the point where we are separate from even those type of, I'm going to let y'all fill in the blank. We have to get it together and come together. And like I said, excuse me, if you're ready to build, we build. But if you're ready to sit up here and tell me how great Massey is, and if you're ready, let me just tell you, one time I had, we was doing like a garage sale, right? Mm-hmm. Me and my neighbors. I just want to show you how Black folk is. And we were just, having a good time. I had white folk coming over to my house doing this because it was a neighborhood thing. Not one Black person came to their sister's house to participate. And I'm looking at that. That's what I'm talking about right there. Those type of N-words, I'm going to say it like that, they need to be dealt with. What is the problem with you supporting your own sister? That's how brain damaged we are right now. This is at a point where we don't even want to be, we don't want nothing to do with Black. You can see a person at the gym, or you can see a Black person on the street, and they're looking at, but then they see white folk and they go, oh, they just so happy. And you're looking at them like, are you that dumb? Those people don't even like you like that. They like you even less than they like me because they know they can't trust you. They already know where I stand, but they already know they can't trust you either. So they don't like you either. So my thing is, we have to begin to deal with our own first, because some of these people, you can't take them with you because they'll get you killed. They'll get you killed. They'll set you up. And then we'll help Master kill you. And then tell you deserved it. Just like our baby, the Chinese just shot the little Black baby. How many Black folk was sitting up there talking about it's his fault? He's 14. You done ran out the store chasing after the baby and it's his fault. Really? That's who we need to deal with. That's who we need to deal with. These Black folk that's sitting up here blaming Black folk. And this is what we do. We blame each other for what happens, to what they do to us. We blame us. No. How did we get here? Let's look at the root of the problem. How did we get here? But then we got to come together and we got to deal with us. And it's going to take us educating our own, getting separated. Now, the ones that's ready, you want to come on. But you can't, we have to vet the ones that's coming in because they got to be ready. The mind's got to be ready. And some of them can't be trusted, unfortunately. And they look just like me. But guess what? Just because I look like you don't mean I'm what did he say? All color folks, skin folk ain't just okay. Y'all know what I mean. And that's true. We can't trust some Black folk. We gotta go on their Facebook page to see what they friends with. If you see them around a whole bunch of crackers, you already know. Not happening. That's not somebody I want to hang with. We got to get our minds right, family. If we're gonna work this thing and we're gonna make it, we got to be Black first. Period. Black first. I don't have not people ask me, you like white folk? I ain't got nothing to do with them. It's not about them right now. It's about my Black folk. That's what my attention is right now. I ain't got time for all of that extra stuff right there. We got folk dying every day. We got to get them back. We got to do something. I rest my mic.
Yes, ma'am. And I want to take a little time to look at Brother Bakari's question or statement, where he says that Chris Rock is a Sambo comedian. Trump words mean nothing. I don't understand how there's so much hate for white folk, but use their slurs to describe some Black people. So Brother Bakari is saying that it's not proper for us to call Black people niggas. What's your thoughts on that? Doc, you want to go first? You on mute. We can't hear you.
I understand that it is a descriptor that is historically loaded, that historically speaking, you would have a situation where you would never want to have that word used by anyone. However, there may not be another word that can describe our historical frustrations with our own kind, of how they have repeatedly, seemingly dedicated their lives to retarding the progress and potential success of Black folk. Um, One of the things that we need to talk about that we rarely talk about within our community is the idea of class structure, of a socioeconomic scale that it affects every other group. So why not Black America? It's only that race that ties in skin color that ties us all together. And if you look at other groups, you will find that they have their own derogatory terms as well that have a historical nature um, to describe their less than progressive and successful brethren and sisters. And so I get, and I've heard the idea of we should never say, I don't say the N word. We should never say nigga. I've heard that often, heard it throughout my entire life. Yet it's a word that covers so many people. When there is no other word to truly describe them, you know who we're talking about when we talk about that. And a part of it is the expression of angst and anger that they have allowed themselves to continue to wallow at the bottom of a decadent, decaying American society. And I yield.
Excellent, Doc. Sister Cassie?
I think about what he's saying, but I think about a young man named by the name of Jesse Lee Peters. What do you call him? Who? Jesse Lee Peterson. To me, I can call him anything else but that right
Careful, that's
there.
Maurice's boy.
I'm just saying, I cannot call him anything but. Okay. So I don't know what else to call him. I don't know what else would that really lines up for what he does. There's no excuse. What do you call him? Help me out here. Give me another name for him then, because right now I only know one, and it's not the only one. Candace, we can go down the line here. We got Black folk that's supposed to that they'll go against their own for massa, and they do it often. So what do you call them? If y'all give me another word, I'll try to use it. But right now, I'm gonna call them niggas. I don't know what else to call them, because who actually thinks like that? I mean, some of the stuff that he says, you look at him and you go, "What in the world? Do you like money that much that you have to go against your own?" I don't know what to call him, so I'm gonna wait on somebody to give me another name for him. Let me look at the chat, because I don't know what else to call him. I mean, you have, and we're not even talking about the niggas at the Black Caucus, okay, who has the power to do for us, but won't. So we hold them accountable, and they need to be dealt with. I'm coming right back to that. These niggas need to be dealt with, whether you like the word or not. I'm just saying. I don't know what else to call them, Bakari. So when he give me another word, then I'll try to get used to that one. But right now, I do.
And I use the word myself when I'm referring to them. I'll use the word niggas, or I'll use the word savages. But I was talking to my one of my sons. He's 27 years old, and last year. And we were talking, and he was doing something, and I called him a nigger, and he says, "Dad, this is the first time you ever called me a nigger." I said, "Boy, stop acting like a goddamn nigger. I done taught you better." And it was like throwing cold water on him. My dad done called me a nigger, because that's what you're acting like when you know better. I done taught you better. My expectations of you are a whole lot better than that.
You hurt his feelings so bad.
I tell you that, he like I told him, he earned it. He earned it. You know, and I don't believe in placating. I'm gonna give it to you as it is, you know, because I taught you a whole lot better than that. So my expectation is for you to do a whole lot better. And when you fail, I'm not gonna be all no, you're gonna get it. I'm gonna give it to you. You're gonna get it because that's what you earn. I'm not here to placate you and all that foolishness. You better get with it, or your ass will be left behind with the rest of the niggas. So I want to go to this next video and get y'all opinion on what we're watching here and see, you know, what y'all think about this. So let me go. Wait a minute. I gotta hit one more button. Because I think this is very important. And I want to know who made this, who's responsible for this.
Good afternoon, parents. Good afternoon, boys and girls. Shut the fuck up. Hey.
Not nice.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
You need to leave? No, bitch.
Okay.
Oh, he's out. Yeah, he's out. Good afternoon.
You play it one more time.
Good afternoon, parents. Good afternoon, boys and girls. Shut the fuck up.
Hey. Not nice.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
You need to leave? No, bitch.
Okay.
Oh, he's out. Yeah, he's out.
All right, there you heard it out the child's mouth. So the quick question to our panel, who's responsible for that? Who created that? Is this the new what blackness is? Look like their kindergarten class. Shut the F up. No, B. And has no shame in his game. He's comfortable with it. This has become the accepted norm. Who's responsible? Doc, who's responsible for that? Who created that?
You know, we come into this world knowing how to do very little. We're social beings. You know how to breathe, which is kind of involuntary. You know how to poop, also involuntary. So everything else that you learn is taught to you. You either learn through participation or observation. That's the community's fault right there. That's the household, the home's fault right there, because that has been taught, that has been reinforced, and it has in many ways probably been celebrated. You know, I'll give you a good example of someone. I won't say their names, but this is a good brother who loved hip hop. You know, he's of that generation, and he would always listen to very dubious forms of hip hop around his child, his daughter. He told me a story that he was out at the mall and he ran into one of his coworkers, and the coworker's wife was present as well. And so while he's chopping it up with with his coworker, the husband, the wife says to his daughter, "Oh, I just love little girls. I just, you got such a pretty dress. I just love little girls." And his daughter said, "Oh, you don't love me. Oh, you don't love me. Oh, you don't love me." It was some rap song that she had heard repetitiously. And she debuted it right there in front of his family, in front of his white coworkers. It's been taught, it's been reinforced, and lay it at the feet of who it belongs to. That it belongs that if Malcolm is able to say that to understand me, you need to understand my father and his father and his father before him. To understand that child right there, you need to understand his parents, and their parents before them. This is not a one generational problem, but it is certainly a cultural one that is unnecessary and could be straightened out if we were aware of it and we wanted to change it.
But Doc, hold on. Let me ask
Go
you
ahead.
this. I'm gonna give you a little pushback on here.
Go ahead.
Where is the white man fault in that? Because we just got talking about Americanism and all this stuff. So where is the white man in that? Where is his play in that? Is there anything that the white man has to do with that?
I mean, it's
Is his
created.
clean of that?
His society has created the entire context. Once again, as Baldwin said, he's created the nigger. And what you're seeing in regards to the creation of the nigger is the extrapolation of cultural values that flow from the nigger. Now you can trace it back and say, well, it's because we lived in substandard housing, we've lived in quote unquote ghettos, we've gone to inferior schools and what have you. You can extrapolate it as far back as you want to. But if we're talking about coming up with a solution to it, to addressing it, oh, that's within the house. Just because you're living within poverty does not mean that you have to be devoid of any type of morality, any type of principles, any guidance. If that were the case, there would be no hope for any of us, because white folk would be our supreme rulers and determiners of our destiny, and they simply are not.
So, but Doc, I want to make sure I got you clearly on your first part. You said, or what I thought I heard you say was that white culture created that. Is that what I understood?
No, I said that white America created the nigger. Okay, you cannot talk about the dysfunction of Black America without talking about the systemic racism and the various machinations that you have in regards to warping our minds and not teaching us and filling in those voids of who we actually are. Okay. However, once you have that rolling, there's still hope. Everybody does not have children that behave that way because they took agency over the direction and destiny of their child.
So then, just as the white folks would say when you're dealing with reparations, I didn't have you as slave. I ain't got no responsibility for that. Mm-hmm. They would give you that same pushback and say, we don't have no responsibility for that. So how can you blame us for that? We're not in this house.
I didn't lay responsibility directly on a single white person. We're not talking about a single white person influence problem. What we're talking about is structuralized racism. We're talking about systemic racism. We're talking about a system that operates and rolls without even the awareness of the average white citizen. This is a process that we go through. This is a veritable racial minefield that our children are going through. And if our children have to go through it, Lord knows that the parents are going through it. This is the reason why you have Black parents who are afraid to stand up and speak, because they know that there will be such harsh economic consequences to them standing up. But what I am saying, and it takes me back to Frederick Douglass's great story where he talks about that majestic moment where his owner and his father, his biological father, both called him. Who do you go to? Douglass chose to go to the owner and was reprimanded by his father. So no matter how impoverished we are, no matter how stressed and oppressed that we are, we still have to hold our children to a standard. Because right there, what you saw was a 5-year-old mimicking and parroting what he heard as someone put down in the chat, a parent say to someone else. That's what you're seeing right there. And what I am saying is that regardless of the systemic racism that we face, regardless of the historical context of over 400 years of oppression, that, sir, is not who we are. And we have to behave how we are, not only in public, but also behind closed doors. If they bring the fight to you, it's on. But when we are at home, we are decent, respectable people at every turn.
Excellent. Thank you, Doc. Sister Cassie?
Who we blame? We blame the village. Everybody. That right there, for one, is learned behavior. He's been hearing dysfunction in the home. Somebody is talking like that in that house. We blame our entertainers, okay? Because that music, that sounds like some music to me. I'm just saying. We've heard music sound worse than that. And we hear his age singing it. So who do we blame? And we blame white folk because they won't produce the right kind of music for us in our community. We don't hear our white folks singing this kind of music to their children, do we? But we have to come. It always comes back to the village, though. Always, everything you see. Because we still can make choices. And we've chosen to listen to that disgusting music instead of holding our entertainers accountable. We've chosen to allow our children to sing along with that disgusting music. We've chosen to allow different men, now I'm talking about the women, who've allowed men to come in and disrespect them in front of their little babies, right? That's learned behavior. We've chosen to allow men to come around their girlfriends and disrespect the girlfriends. But this is what we've chosen. So you can't blame him. But I'm going to tear his little butt up if I was sitting there. I'm just saying. Because charity starts at home. You still have to teach him even out in public. So he should have got I remember we used to get towed up out in public. Wherever you did it, that's where you got that butt toe. You got it. You got them. I'm just saying. You got it right then and there. That amount of embarrassment would have stopped that behavior. I'm just saying. We have to take on that responsibility as parents. We're supposed to be teaching and training. Who's not doing their job with that baby? We're looking at him pointing fingers. Nuh-uh, that's the home. That's the home. That's the grandparents. Because you think my grandson would have been talking like that? And I'm sitting in the room. I'd have been looking at his mama first. I'm just saying, where did he get this from? And even grandma, is grandma allowing that kind of behavior? So we got to take it all the way back. Everybody got a piece of that pie right there. Everybody. So what's his future going to look like? Say again.
And I just no. Go ahead. I just have a clarifying question. So go ahead and I'll ask it.
Go ahead and ask your question.
Okay. So you're in agreement with Doc when he says that white culture also has a responsibility in that problem.
It's the system. We're looking at a system that they've set up, right? So look at our music. Where did it come from? Why are men? I remember back in the day, we had music that told songs. I mean, they told stories, right? But look at what is the music telling now? Where did it change? Why is that the only music that we're allowed to produce? Why is that the only music that they'll pay you to produce? But we still have to hold our entertainers accountable too. Because we allowed that to come in our homes. Because if we would have shut it down in the beginning, you think they'd have been still paying them the top dollars to do that? No. They'd have been like, okay, that's not. So we all have to own that. Because if we didn't accept that music, that little baby wouldn't be talking like that, probably.
Then let me do a little pushback with you, Sister Cassie. And, again, taking the other person's perspective, I'm quite sure a white person or some other person may look and say, but hey, when you talking about the music, it's black artists that's out here saying this. White folks ain't got nothing to do with that. That's more black people. Why are you blaming the white man?
Who's producing it? Who's producing it? Who's paying you for it? They won't produce it. They won't even play it on. If you have positive music, they won't even play it. So yeah, you got to own that. You got to own slavery. You got to own what your fathers did. Because the word said, "I visit the sins of the fathers." To what, third and fourth generation? We got to own all of that. And it's the system that they've created. This is the system that they've created, to where our entertainers won't play anything but that ratchet music. but then it trickles down to us as parents. Why are we allowing it into our home? So we got to eat that one.
Do we have an example? And this question is for both you and Dr. Cassidy. Do we have an example of an artist who wanted to do positive music and was told you can't do this, you got to do this negative music? Do we have an example of that?
We do have an example. It was probably years back. There was one artist that came on that was talking about the negative music. They wouldn't even produce it. I'm not the names. I can't. But it was one. He had an interview, and they talked about the music, and he said that he can't produce positive music. They won't play it. It's a pushback on that. But my thing is, okay, well, that whose fault is that? That's our fault. Because we've allowed them to use us, right? So it comes, I'm going to keep saying it, we got to eat it. Because our entertainers have been in this thing, okay, football players, basketball, you've been in this long enough to create your own. You use them as a stepping stone. When you see them getting out of pocket, okay, that's when you got to pull away and you got to create your own. And that's where Black folk is lacking. We've not produced our own anything. Facebook, YouTube, all of this, we need our own platforms. It's some certain stuff we can't even say that we should be able to say because our truth is hate speech. Our truth, how they treat us, is negativity, is hate, right? So you get dinged. But this is our fault. This is why Ram in the Bush is here. We want to create investigating teams. We want to create our own security team. We need our own 811. Why we keep calling them, when they come, you die. See, this is stuff that we have to own. Because we know what happens when we come together with them. Everything they do with you and for you is against your detriment. It's for your demise. We've not learned that yet. Why? We see it every day. So we have to own some of this. We can point fingers because it's the system, but it still comes back to us because we should have been had our own platforms. What's it going to take? We're lazy. Master didn't say it was okay, so we can't do it yet. We got to wait for Master to tell us it's okay. Just like the Harriet Tubman. The one dude he needed Master to tell him it's okay to run away. I'm going back. I'm just saying. Come on now. Rest my mic.
Excellent. Doc, do you have a record, or do you recall any artist saying that? I see Brother Bakari says, I have one a few years ago, Cyrock, a female rapper, that told the industry her lyrics for sale, but not her body. She turned down millions. Do you have an example of a rapper saying that the industry didn't want clean rap, that they wanted this negative anti-Black rap to be going out?
Most certainly. Young man who is the equivalent of a son to me, by the name of DeMarcus Hamilton. Goes by the rap name Bone, and he achieved fame eventually. He was signed to Def Jam. Out of all record labels, he's on Def Jam, which is the gold standard for the song Homegirl. DeMarcus is a brilliant young man. He is one of my majors. That's how he fell within my inner circle. Matter of fact, I interacted with him via Facebook earlier today. That's his story, that he recorded positive rap for 5-6 years and never got on. And to be absolutely fair, the music industry is largely being driven by what sells. And within the African American youth culture, the things that are selling are not racially uplifting usually. You have some every once in a while. You'll have a J. Cole. You'll have a Big Crit, who I consider to be the savior of hip hop right now, of contemporary hip hop. But by and large, they want club music. They're not looking for things that make them think or what have you. So Bone, Marcus Hamilton, it wasn't until he switched up and utilized. Yeah, I believe that for sure, Brother Bakari. Um, that he found any notoriety whatsoever. And to be honest with you, the song "Homegirl" it uses anyone who knows New Orleans Magnolia Shorty. It uses Magnolia Shorty's "That's My Juvie" as the hook, and lo and behold, a song. I mean, like I said, he's been recording 5 6 years, and Homegirl was actually made in one day, and it was made while he was evacuating, the night that he had to evacuate from our campus to close to Dallas. He's from Atlanta, Texas, to to escape. I want to say it was Hurricane Katrina, but it might have been one of the other hurricanes. And if you listen to the lyrics, he says, "Whip that ass like a hurricane," because the hurricane was there. So he would be the closest and most direct. Um, that I would know. And the currently, and there's, like I said, he's as close as a son to me. He has this moment where he's performing, and he was actually brought into the Shape Center, which is an African American like youth center place. He was brought in there to do the after school jam. So he's got kids from the age of 5 all the way up through 15 listening to Homegirl. And he said the lyrics hit him, and he looked down, and every kid in there knew every lyric, and that's what led him to say, what in the world am I doing? And he hasn't performed Homegirl again for a young audience since then. And now he's the equivalent of a modern day blues musician that is playing these clubs 3 4 nights out the week, and these people are showing up and they want to hear Homegirl. So
Wow. Okay. Now I want to go back to Devonna Whitfield's question or statement that she made. Let me find it really quick. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Where she says, oops. That's why it's important that we teach our children and protect what they hear, what they eat, what they see, what they touch as a child. Protect their senses while they're young. How do you protect their senses while they're young when you have so much at the fingertips, because technology is everywhere? But how do you properly protect the child with so many different things? You got the tablet, you got the phone, you got the TV, and even if they go to school, you got it right there in school. You got it walking down the street. They're surrounded with it. How do you protect their senses? Sister Cassie?
It starts at home when they're babies. There's certain things you don't let them watch. I remember when my girls were younger, we didn't watch a lot of TV. We turned it off. I bought movies. We'd have, homework was homework time, and, not too much TV. Fridays, Saturdays, weekends, maybe. But I was there. If I remember, this was way back. Remember Teletubbies? When the little boy, the little whatever, he was carrying a purse, right? I looked one day, I said, what is that? I said, we won't be watching that. It's up to the parents. We have to parent. We don't parent anymore. We got kids, babies, having babies. They bop it along, 14, 15-year-olds having babies now. So they growing up together. So what they don't see anything wrong. They don't see anything wrong with it. But if they're in your house, who's paying the bills? This is what goes here. I remember a time BET wasn't allowed to be in my house. That was when, Snoop Dogg and they was, the women had the shorts up to the booty holes, and you ain't watching that. That's not what I'm raising. We're not raising. You have to be very mindful. Like she said, you have to be very mindful what seeds, even friends. Some friends, when I saw them little girls that was really out there like that, Oh no, come on in. You can't hang with that person. We as parents have a lot of control, but we've let a lot of that control go. You running your house, or is your child running your house? I ran my house. You can't do that up in here. I remember, you remember them booty shorts, right? My daughter was graduating. She was 18, graduating. She just graduated that night. She come out downstairs with some booty shorts on. No, ma'am. You still up in here. That's not how we gonna dress. When you wanna go out there and paying your bills, you can wear, you ain't gotta wear no shorts. You can wear panties out. But up in here tonight, you won't be wearing them out. This still my house. Doesn't matter how old you are. We have to start parenting. We have to do what we were put on this earth to do. This is what's going on right now. And even with grandmas, okay? What's going on with you allowing your granddaughter or your grandson come to your house and act crazy? We don't do that up in here. It's certain things my granddaughter can't even come up in my house and do. And she's fine. She knows, she already automatically know Cardi B and some other stuff don't come on my TV. She already know. This is how we do it here. But I started when she was a baby. I didn't wait till she was 12 and 13. Say, oh, we're not going to. No, we have order. We do certain things up in here. And when she got out of pocket, I got out of pocket with her. Mm-hmm. Because it's my house. And we have rules. That's anywhere you go. But some parents, no rules. Anything goes. Your kids can tell you what to do. We allowing them to be, what you call it? Expressing themselves. You want to express yourself up in here. This is my house. I'm the only one paying the bills and I can express myself. But when you get yours, you can express yourself. It still goes. We want to say, oh, man, that's old school. But look at your house and look at mine. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You got order in your house? It's going to show outside the house, right? You don't have no order in your house. It's going to show outside the house. We still have to stand on principles. We know how to act. We know how to do it. We know the morals. We don't do what them dysfunctional devils do. Mm-hmm. You don't sit up here and let your son come up in here switching with a dress on. It's your house. He 12. He come up in your house talking I'm a girl. The hell you mean you're a what? Up in here? You ain't coming up in here with no dress. And you ain't bringing no boyfriends up in here either. Not up in here. I don't know what you do out there, but you ain't doing it up in here. Order. We got parents allowing them boys to come up in there. He just going through something. I don't give a dang on what you're going through. You won't go through it up in here. Mm-hmm. This is what we do up in here. It still matters. I'm old school. Mm-hmm. My granddaughter, I don't care what they're doing out there. My kids know not to even come to me talking, oh, Sally mama said, I don't give a dang on what Sally mama. Sally don't run nothing up in here. Who paying the bills? Okay. It still works. Mm-hmm. We still have to parent. And I tell you don't have order in your house. Your house is chaos. Mm-hmm. Your kids telling you what to do. Mm-hmm. I pass.
Definitely. So Doc, I'm gonna ask you the second question that Devonna had. She says, so while babies having babies, they haven't grown up, so they don't know how to raise children. What is your answer to that statement? Babies having babies, they don't know how to raise children. What can we do about that?
I mean, that is a convoluted issue, to be honest with you, because if these babies are having babies, there is a natural supposition that they weren't raised either. And if they weren't raised, now you're talking about, I mean, it's not out of the realm nowadays mm-hmm. to have a grandmother and a grandfather that are 30. I mean, really think about that. That if the first generation had a teenage pregnancy, in the next generation, and we know the statistics, which quite simply say that more times than, let me say frequently, you're going to have a situation where the daughter or son who is the product of a teenage pregnancy more than likely will repeat that cycle. And that's a significant issue. So here you have a baby that is having a baby that was begotten by a baby. So you're talking about probably at oldest mid-30s of having grandparents that age. Um, I don't know where you turn with that, because there's generally wisdom is not something that even comes necessarily with age for some people. So if you're talking about a situation where you have these young folk having these children back to back to back to back, you have the recipe for a cultural disaster. You know, I use this brother all the time because he's often forgotten when we talk about hip hop. But Grand Verbalizer Funkin' Lesson Brother Jay from X Clan says, ignorance is not a trend. And when you really think about it, all you need is for one generation to be ignorant. And all of the wisdom, all of the ways of how we do things, not necessarily why we do them this way, has been lost. And that's what I think that we're seeing there. It just reminds me of something that Brett Favre said when one of the younger players on his team was having a child, and he's weirded out and says, I don't know what to do. He says, well, you got to think about children as if they're tape recorders. Now you got to decide whose voice you want on that tape when they play it to figure out what it is they should do in certain situations. These babies, they're not going to be able to raise babies. They haven't been raised themselves. And if you have grandparents who are 31, 32, 33 years old, we have to hope that God is still in the business of taking care of babies and fools, because that's what you have right there. You have the recipe for a disaster in a unforgiving white world that is not going to seek to take their foot off of their neck, not at any moment, at any time. And I yield, brother.
Can I say one thing on that?
Yes, ma'am.
We have to look at the bigger picture. The bigger picture is what's going on in that household where you have a 12-year-old or 13-year-old having babies. Okay, we got to understand that. And then he told us, older people, he said to do what? Train the young boys, right? Train these young girls, okay? If I'm a grandma and I see my grandbaby, or I see my daughter and I see my granddaughter acting out of pocket, being her grandmother, I'm going to look at my daughter first. I'm going to give her that look, because I know you didn't act like that. You understand what I'm saying? So if my daughter don't say nothing, guess who's stepping in? Come here, baby. That's my job. That's my job. I don't care whose house it is, because this is not what we're going to do. We're not going to start, because I see the trend. We have to rein some stuff in. So that's grandma's job, to put it in order. You can't come to my house acting like that. And being around me, I don't care if I'm at my daughter's house. I'm going to pull rank. Come here. Where we get that from? What's going on with that? Where that behavior coming from? I'm going to check that behavior. Then I'm going to go to my daughter and I'm going to be like, what's... That's my job. If I'm there, we can't see that, and that's not going to say nothing because I'm at her house. No. That's disrespecting me. So I'm going to say something, because that's my job. He told me to do it, right? He said, I'm supposed to help these young babies who's having 14-year-old babies. That's what, here we go again. This is ramming the bush. I'm teaching young men and women how to be entrepreneurs. And yes, we're starting a mentorship program also. So it's other stuff that we bring into the fold here. We're going to start building our own tables. It's time for us to build our own tables, but they have to be taught that you can have your own table. They haven't seen their own table in a long time. So it's very weird for Ram the Bush to be teaching you business ownership, entrepreneurship. But we have to start somewhere. I can ignore it like so many adults. Well, that's not my turn. He gave me the authority to do that. And if you were on this show, he gave you the authority to check your house, to check your grandbabies, to check even a stranger, even a child in the street. They run in the restaurant. Come here, have a seat. Your mama ain't saying nothing. Somebody got to do it. So why are we not doing it? Why are we saying, we know what the words say? If we're gonna live it, are we gonna live it or not? He said men are supposed to teach and train our young boys. We're not doing that. You got grandmas with showing everything. Then the kids showing everything. No, we're not doing that. That's what he put us older people here for. So here again, why aren't we doing our parts? Why are we not going up to these schools and see and check some of these boys with these dresses on? Now that's our fault. If the mamas ain't doing it, daddies ain't doing it. But you're gonna stand up there and see these boys in dresses, not say nothing. Why? We're supposed to be checking that behavior. So who dropped the ball again? I rest my mic.
Yes, ma'am. All right, I want to go to the next video and get y'all understanding on that, because it deals with just what you were talking about, Sister Cassie. Who's the problem? Let's get to the origination of this issue. And so let's go.
I don't know why you can't make it. Well, they made us demand things from our man that they systematically keep him from getting. So he can't give it to us. And so we married to the government. They take care of us like our man should. They give us food, clothes, shelter, health care, child care, education, an apartment. Whatever it is we need, they step in as our man. And they only do that, as I said, for the two reasons: to make him look inadequate and to make us not want to be bothered with him, to destroy his little ego that he got left, and to make us think that we are better than him. And we'll tell him, I can make it. I don't know why you can't make it. Well, they made us demand things from our man that they systematically keep him from getting. So he can't give it to us. And so we married to the government. They take care of us like our man should. They give us food, clothes, shelter, health care, child care, education, an apartment. Whatever it is we need, they step in as our man. And they only do that, as I said, for the two reasons: to make him look inadequate and to make us not want to be bothered with him, to destroy his little ego that he got left, and to make us think that we are better than him. And we'll tell him, I can make it. I don't know why you can't make it. Well, they made us demand things from our man that they...
All right. So we just heard Shahrazad Ali. And women are married to the government. Do you agree, disagree? What she said, is it actual facts? Is that part of the problem? Is that what is creating niggardism? Sister Cassie, what say you?
I totally agree. Our men right now are being, it's almost like on purpose, the women are given jobs. They're making more money than our men on purpose. On purpose. But we don't even understand. When are we going to learn their tactics? She said a mouthful right there. And it's all done on purpose, and we don't even understand it. We literally divided our families for $1. And we're still doing it now. We're still doing it now. Our boys, we expect our men right now, our boys, to be fathers. We expect them to be providers. We expect them to be husbands. We expect them to understand how to be security, to keep the family safe. We expect our boys to be husbands. Where are they learning it? Where are they learning it? Where are the dads? I can't teach them how to be a husband. What am I going to teach them how to be a wife? That's what's going on. That's what's going on right now. We as women who are having these babies, these boys, when those men leave, let them take their sons with them. I can't teach them how to be a boy. But a lot of women have an issue with that. From ages of 0 to 9, the woman can keep the boy. From 10 on up, he needs to be with his dad. Because I think he needs both parents. And that's not what we're offering our children. We offer them one parent and think we done something. I done taught him how to be a man. No, you're lying to yourself. That little thing don't know how to take care of nothing. He know how to let a woman take care of him, because that's all he's seen. Why you think most of our men aren't working? Because they just seen their mamas carry the whole load. So they don't even know they can, or think they even need to. The mama's been doing it. So now my girlfriend, I'm a wife, my girlfriend gonna do it. Not even a wife. My baby mama gonna do it. They done lost the whole focus of marriage. They proud of being baby mamas now. This is what we've done to our culture. We've exchanged our family values and we've allowed white folk to do it to us. We've allowed this. Because we could have said no. We could have said, we're going to keep our men. Our men could have said, no, we're going to stay with our family. Our men could have put their foot down. I ain't going nowhere. This is my house. Right? Remember them days? Mm-hmm. But they didn't. My wife put me out. How is your wife putting you out of your house? Please explain that to me. How is your wife putting you out of your house? How is your wife taking your throne that you're supposed to be sitting on? Brother Maurice, can I come and take you off that chair if that chair is filled?
No, ma'am.
So when a man tell me my wife tell me how is that, was the seat filled? If it was filled, why was it empty in the first place? How was she able to take your seat from you? Did you give it to her? That speaks volumes. If a man come and say, my wife the head of the house, why? Your house is jacked up. I already know it's jacked up. Because the wrong person is in charge. Ain't no woman got no business being in charge of no man. Why was your seat empty? Is my question. Or a man will say, well, she won't let me be. She won't let you be what? Who paying? Come on. What are we doing here? We got to get back to the basics. I hate to hear that. A man said, well, she won't let me. She won't let you what? Help me understand that. I don't understand that. I don't understand that. We have to learn their tactics. We have to know that what we're seeing is done on purpose. They knew that our men needed to be in the household. They knew that our boys was going to act off the chain if they didn't. They knew that. They studied us. They knew that. Why do you think they still with their woman? Why do you think their family's still intact? Because they know the difference. They know the dangers of not having a male presence in the home around boys or a male presence around girls, a male presence, period. They know the dangers. We just act like we don't know that. We don't care the dangers. We think we celebrate Mama and Father's Day. How? Where we do that at? How are you doing both? Did you teach him how to pee? How'd you do that? You understand what I'm saying? There are things that a man can only teach a boy. Mm-hmm. So we drop the mic again. We're not learning their tactics. We're still allowing them to tell us what to do and how to act. But they're not doing it, are they? They'll tell you. And you'll sit there and listen to them like a dummy. And now your house jacked up. But look at their house. They're going to tell you how to act, black woman. And that white woman got your man and hers too. And you sitting up there by yourself struggling. Can't pay a bill, can't eat, struggling. And the man you do have there, they want to pay him $12 an hour. And you got nerves to say something. But when are we going to start coming together and supporting us, creating our own business? You don't have to beg them. When are we going to stop begging them for our tables? Create your own table. If you know we have a need in the community, create it. You know we need some community stores, create it. You get your taxes. Come together with like-minded folks and come up with a strategy. Mm-hmm. Now I'm teaching these young girls in medical fields. They're being nurses now. I'm saying, hey, you know where you're going to make your money? At doulas, midwives, because I need one around the bush. Like you talking about the doctors who's been killing black babies. The idea, I'm spreading the idea. That's where your money is in our communities, because we having babies. They're not. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying. Mm-hmm. We got to do better. I rest my mic.
Thank you, Sister Cassie. Doc, what you think about what Sister Shahrazad Ali said? You on mute, Doc.
Okay, the thing is that when you really are talking about the disintegration of the black family, we'll talk about the Moynihan Report. We'll talk about all of these different things and black women choosing welfare over men. Well, we should expand our discussion about that moment to really turn our gaze to the civil rights movement and the foolish idea of pursuing integration without an economic plan. I'll give you the perfect example I'm a big baseball guy, and when you look at the integration of Major League Baseball, we're talking about Jackie Robinson with the Brooklyn Dodgers, and we're also talking about Larry Doby in the American League with the Cleveland Indians. You don't see a single black owner in Major League Baseball to this very day. That was not an absorption of the Negro Leagues. It was a rating of it for its best talent. Satchel Paige and all these great black Negro League players. But in time, the Negro League teams were defunct, and the black communities that relied upon it for resources, ticket sales, concession sales, and what have you, would go away. Now compare that to the NBA when it expanded. The NBA had a rival, the ABA, and of course the most notable ABA player at the time was the New Jersey Nets' Julius Erving, Dr. Jet. The NBA and the ABA merged together. So you had ABA owners who came over and kept ownership of their teams. When you're talking about the idea of integrating and you don't have an economic component, it's going to be disastrous for your community almost immediately when the sort of standard agreed upon prerequisites for marriage for men for being marriageable is the ability to provide. Now you have a growing number of black men who are, number one, unemployed. As the 1970s go forward, you're going to see an increase in what could best be termed. This is one of my favorite movies of all time. If you've never seen it, you should watch it. Carbon Copy. It's one of the first movies that Denzel Washington was in, and they use this term because the guy was had to go to the labor ready office, that temp service where you can get labor for a single day. He was referred to as a hardcore unemployable. By the mid 1970s, our community is full of hardcore unemployables because you have a white society that is unforgiving of black men who have any engagement with the criminal justice system or with drugs. And white boys are doing cocaine. That's what that disco 1970s thing, Saturday Night Fever going on. Black folk had become addicted to heroin. And drug abuse and the going towards drugs is symptomatic of so many other things. A person doesn't just wake up and say, yo, today I'm just going to be a drug addict. No, there's some other things that go into it. So what she's saying, what Shahrazad Ali is saying, is historically correct. It is basically common sense. But I believe that black women get a bad rap at this moment by saying that they just chose the government over black men, because you're once again dealing with some systemic issues of black men not being able to seize gainful employment and maintain gainful employment. At the same time, you have black women who are struggling. And once again, it is someone who made that rule that if you received welfare benefits, and I'm a 70s kid, so I remember social services having the police raid people's houses, ramming, rummaging through all of their stuff looking for a man's clothes, because if they found a man living in that household, then your public assistance was cut off. That was not necessarily black women's doing. That is black folk trying to make a way out of no way within a very harsh and harmful white world supremacy situation. So I agree with her, but at the same time, I wish that we would not make black women the villains in that moment, as if they just said, well, you know what, I'm going to just go with the government. Well, she kind of had to go with the government assistance, or the children would be further economically destabilized. And I yield, brother.
All right, thank you, Doc. We're gonna go to one more video and get y'all thinking on it.
That they suffered to try to give us. I'm not here in Selma to create any problem. The problem is already here. Some of these that have opposed my presence, what are their works? We've read their words in the paper, but what are their works? On my way to this beloved and sacred place, I saw a sign, "This way to racial harmony," as though racial harmony was on the bridge. Racial harmony is not on the Edmund Pettus Bridge. Racial harmony can only come when there's racial justice. Farrakhan did not come to disrupt what doesn't exist. You see? Our people are not foolish. We don't need magic. We need truth. We don't need magic. We don't need deception. We need truth. Those of you in power, you know that you're deceiving black people. You know you are making them to believe that something exists that you know does not exist. So the real liars, the real deceivers, the real game players, see, that's who are afraid of my coming, because the truth in my mouth exposes their lies, their deceit, their chicanery. While I was walking through the museum of voting and civil rights, it took every bit of strength to keep the tears from falling from my eyes, to think of how my brothers and sisters have suffered to vote for the same people that put them in this condition. How my people have suffered to be turned into apologists for their former slave masters and their children. How my people have suffered for a vote to put some of you in office and then you sell them out. While I was in the museum reminiscing over Dr. Martin Luther King and the Reverend James Luther Bevel and all of those who came to Selma, Kwame Ture and others who came not to be seen on television, but to rectify a gross wrong, a gross injustice. And the media would act as though all injustice has been corrected. All suffering has ended. All racism has ended. And then have the nerve to call me a notorious bigot, while the bigotry, the racism, and the hatred still exists in Selma, Alabama, 30 years after Dr. Martin Luther King. I'm not here to stir up hatred. But if you had not been unjust to black people, there would be no hatred for nobody to stir up. Love and justice does not produce hatred, but it is evil and injustice that has produced hatred if hatred exists. While I was in the museum, His Honor, the mayor, Mr. Smitherman, came to see if the people of his plantation are still all right. He came by and they tell me, I didn't hear him say it, but I heard that he said they're going to investigate Mr. Sanders and a grant that he received to see if he used any of that grant money to bring this hater and this bigot to Selma. I wish he was here so I could tell him to his Rose Sanders and Senator Sanders did not offer me one dime, nor did I ask for one dime to come to Selma. I paid my way every mile of the journey. And the love offering that you gave, thinking that you gave to me, I put $100 in that bucket, and I'm giving every dime right back to Selma, that Selma may improve her own condition. So, Mayor, you can go back to doing something better with your time. I came here to Selma to talk to you. Because your biggest enemy is not the white man. Your biggest enemy is your fear of the white man. Your biggest enemy is not the white man. Your biggest enemy is your ignorance of the white man. Fear and ignorance is your number one enemy. How dare you say you are a Christian and that you know Jesus Christ and are walking in fear of the very shadow of your enemy? The scripture said perfect love casteth out fear, and that is your problem. You don't love God enough. You don't love yourself enough. You don't love one another enough.
All right, there we have the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan saying that our biggest fear is not the white man, but it is fear of the white man and the ignorance, our ignorance of the white man. So he touched on a lot on that. What's your thoughts about what he just talked about? Sister Cassie, you want to go first?
I totally agree. He talked about us not loving ourselves enough.
Mm-hmm.
I always say that we don't love us because nobody loves us. They taught us how not to love us. They taught us how not to love our children. And we never broke that. It's been what's from slavery on, we've been negative with our own children. And now we just don't even care about them. We just, whatever white folk want to do to them, we let them. Whatever they want to say to them, we let them. We'll chastise them in front of white folk. We'll beat the hell out of them in front of white folk. You remember back in the day, our parents was whipping children in front of the white teachers. Remember back in the day, way back, it made no sense. Who does that? As much as those teachers lied on those kids, and boy, they had a good old time. I could just imagine. We do some crazy stuff, and we're still doing it today on our jobs. We're telling on each other. That's trying to be that right name. There I go with that N word, right? Bakari. We got to be the right one. I don't know if that's my favorite word or what, but I'm just saying, we got to be the right one. We got to show how massive. I work with this girl, and when she first came, she came from Barbados, and I'm not talking about my, because I love my little Caribbean friends and Caribbean and Africa. Okay, I don't have a problem with black first, okay, but when you come through the door, now I can smell it. I told one of the girls, I said, that right there gonna be the biggest coon. And she said, yes, how you know? I said, I ain't gonna tell you, just watch. And sure enough, that little coon that coontivity came right on out. So I just shook my head. It was so sad that I was correct. I wanted to be wrong that time. But it just makes no sense. But he told you. He told us truth. We scared of white folk. That's what black folk is today. You asked the question, where are we today? We are scared of white folk. I remember a time a white dude wouldn't even come step to you. We'd bust him up. Now, we running. See this white dude on what is it? TikTok, and he walked up to the black dude. He said, "Hand me that, boy." You seen that TikTok? He said, "Hand me that whatever that cereal, boy."
Yeah.
And I mean, they just be like scared to death.
Exactly.
Around like, oh my God, is he talking? And I'm like, I remember a day you would have turned around and he would have got one in the kiss him.
Exactly.
He'd have been laying on the floor, right? And he'd be like, what y'all waiting on? He'd come up there and talk to the woman, and the dude standing right there. He was scared. They done got y'all black guy. They done got us so scared we won't even chase our shadow. We're scared to chase our shadow. I rest my mic. But I agree.
What you say about the video?
Of course, Mr. Farrakhan is correct in regards to our greatest problem being our fear of the white man. I saw it even there in that assembly. And this is a personal thing for me. The hooting and the hollering, the audience participation. Yeah, tell them, work with it. Walk with it. Blah. For me, that's emotionalism and energy that would be best served building something. Like Sister Cassie created an organization to do something versus sitting around and in every way just going along with the crowd. Just tell them right, tell them this. Well, this man has come into this city and immediately had a bigger impact upon the city than you Negroes who live there. You should be ashamed of that. And one of the things that I just know to be true is that individuals cannot fight organizations. You need to create organized, politicized, well-funded organizations to go to war with other organizations that are seeking to do you harm. Unfortunately for us, the funding for our organizations is coming from the very people that we're supposed to be fighting against. So they're not going to be so vicious to bite the hand that's actually feeding them through grant money and different concessions and things like that. As Minister Farrakhan says, that they want to know if any of that money they gave was used to bring him there. That's a clear sign that he who pays that bill is going to dictate what tune is going to be played. So even with the existence of a black organization, even if it has 10, 20, 30,000 members, it's still going to be fearful and cautious around white folk because they know white folk are the ones that put the seed money down for their organization to start and controls the funding and operation of it on a daily basis. So he's absolutely correct that it's not only black folk personal fear, but also black organizations collective fear of what amounts to is white power.
Definitely. You know, I used to work for this nonprofit, and you know, we beat up on the system and racism and all that. And then when it's time to get money, we have to go out to where the rich white folk live, knock on their door and say, "Can you donate to me?" You know, and I always hated that part of canvassing, and I never did it. I refused to do that. Fuck that. Y'all go do that. I'll go do my thing. I just never could get with that. That, you know, these are the same people that we're railing on, but yet now we got to go ask these people for money. That shit don't make no sense. But this is the thing that they get caught up in. And, you know, you're right, Doc, 100%. That's no way to be. That's no way to be. Mm-mm. And so we're going to go and share our last video and then come back for closing comments.
Oh, say, can you see by the blood in the street that this place doesn't smile on you, colored eye? Whose blood built this land with sweat and their hands? But you'll die in this place, and your memory. Oh, say, does this truth hold any weight? This is not the land of the free, but the home of the slave.
All right, so there we have the national anthem by Jill Scott. Her version, I came up with it that way. We shouldn't just, you know, have it and do nothing. There should be some type of thing that comes next that you can build off what she did. What do you think that should be? And also, Brother Bakari made a comment that I would like for you all to answer in your closing comments. And that comment says, I know this weak dude that said his wife would punish him. He had to ask permission to use the computer. He asked permission to take his son before to the barbershop. what advice would you give this Black man in that situation? So those are your closing comments. Two questions that I would like for y'all to answer in your closing comments. Sister Cassie, you would like to go first?
First, with this comment, this is what I mean when I said a man will come and say, my wife won't let me. If he was the man of the house, she wouldn't be asking him anything. You understand? Or he wouldn't be asking her to do blah, blah, blah. If he was the man of the house, the rules would already be set. Plain and simple. She wouldn't have to go. He wouldn't have to ask her. He'd already be doing his thing. And she'd be doing hers because everybody has their place. But she wouldn't understand who the king, where the king, who the king is. And until we understand that, this is the problem with black culture. We have totally lost our place. And until the head get back where it needs to be, the whole family is out of order. It'll never get back in order. Because your head, do you see a head on the shoulder? Do you see us holding a head in the hand? The head is out of place right now. When the head is out of place, the family's out of place, the kids out of place. When you have a black presence of a male in the home, you have order because he's going to run his house. He's a real man is not going to sit up there and ask his woman, can I go and take my son to get his hair cut? That would sound crazy to me. That's crazy. And this is why I created, and let's talk about Jill Scott. This is why I created the foundation. Because I got tired of black babies begging somebody to sit at their table. Let's create our own table. This is why Ram in the Bush is here. We're teaching our young babies how to have their own. I want to show them we can have our own. We can get our own. We had it before. But we'll ask black folk about building and what they say. First thing they do, we'll come up with a plan, and what they'll do, they're going to run that plan in the ground and tell you why they can't do this and why they can't do this and why we can't do this and why. Well, you know, they tried to block routes, and you know what happened to block routes? Well, you know we can't. Well, come on. When are we going to start? Let's do something different, but let's do it better. We know the mistakes they've made. We saw it. So where's the security? We need a security team. We need our own security team. We need our own deacons of defense. We need our own NFAC. I'm just saying. And until we understand how important that is, that's the start right there. Because we're going to go out here and buy land, and we're going to become separate for real, we don't need a security. We don't need NFAC. We don't need deacons of defense. We're going to need a million armed man. We don't need that. But I'm tired of hearing we talk. When are we going to start doing? And then when you have people that want to do, that come up with a plan, we will have 15,000 people that's going to come against that plan because they're so used to being slaves. Their mindset is so locked into I can't. Well, when are you going to try to see what you can do? When are you going to get tired of what you're seeing? When are you going to get tired of dying in the street? Nothing's going to change unless you change it. So when are we going to get tired, and when are we going to start doing things different? Now is the time. It's in our favor to do it. Write the vision and make it plain. Where do we go from here? We build. We buy our land. We get like-minded people like us three and several more that's on the line, and we come together and we buy our own land. That's what we do different. We don't sit up here and keep talking about it. We be about it. We get our taxes. People get their taxes January. What y'all do with y'all taxes? Did we save it? Are we planting seeds? We paying bills. You understand what I'm saying? We got to come together with like-minded people that's ready to build. We have to start somewhere. We have to do it. Even becoming Maurice, even becoming mayors of small cities and getting reparations for our small cities. We got to start somewhere because if guess what, if somebody see one person doing it, then they'll be like, "Oh man, if he could do it, I can do it." We create movements. We don't create leaders. We create.
Cassie, I think you're on mute.
I heard the song she sang. You understand what I'm saying? I heard. What was the lie? You got black folk was mad at her. Black folk. I started to say on the end. Well, I ain't gonna say it. I started to. I can't. I ain't gonna say it. But you had them being. What are you mad about? What was the lie? Did she lie, or you just don't want? You just mad? White folk was mad. We got to start doing better. And we have to create our own. Some of these folk, I'm gonna take it with me. I don't even want them over here because I know they're not good. COINTELPRO is still there. It never went away. And you still got black folk that's still being used by massa to tear down what you build up. I rest my mic.
Thank you, Sister Cassie. Doc?
Okay, dealing with the question about the brother who I believe Brother Bakari said they were laughing at in the barbershop. What would I say to him? I would say that you need to extricate yourself from that marriage, that so-called marriage, because you do not have a wife. So often we look at black men who are in volatile, chaotic households, and we always lay the fault and the blame at their feet, when in actuality, there isn't a wife present. And so this creates a very interesting dilemma. And part of that dilemma is quite simply, can you take someone who has never seen a wife on a day-to-day basis and turn her, we often hear it said, you can't turn a hoe into a housewife. Can you turn a female who has been raised in a single female headed household with a masculine domineering mother into a cooperative feminine wife? And I think that we all know that the answer to that is no, you can't. Especially in modern times where women utilize law enforcement and the courts as if they are their big brothers. And they know that I can put you in your place with one phone call. Mm-hmm. And they will wild out and they will act in that way, in that aggressive. So for that brother, I would say you quite simply should make every plan that you can to exit, save up your money so that you can go to a court and you can fight for custody of your child, because you are not married. You are with a wild hyena, a jackal, so to speak, who you would probably have to beat into submission. Now, in regards to Jill Scott and what should come next, maybe black men and black women, because we are involved in a hell of a civil war. If one can say that there's a civil war occurring, and I apologize to Brother Bakari before I say this, if there is a civil war happening between black folks and niggas, there is damn sure a civil war happening between a significant segment of black men and black women. You have black men who have basically thrown their hands up and refused to have any dealings whatever with black women. They would rather go some to Brazil, to somewhere in South America and try to find them a mate. You have black women who are using their venomous tongues to malign and criticize these brothers. I think that those are, especially black women, because I've seen a troubling trend amongst Black women that have them talking about aborting Black babies if they're males? Have we gotten to that level of sickness that you are that white-minded and that unaware and driven by emotion and disappointment that you would kill our next generation? I believe that they should go ahead and take that Jill Scott rendition of the national anthem and listen to it like I listened to John Coltrane's Love Supreme. Okay, Art Blakey, Lee Morgan's Moaning, and be reminded that it wasn't just Black male bodies hanging from those trees. It was Black females hanging from those trees. Black women were burned. Black children were burned. And I say all of that hoping that listening to that intently would remind them, as the old hip hop saying goes, we all we got. And we can return back to loving each other, to considering each other, to valuing each other. Things have gotten so bad now, and I can just speak to about myself personally. I don't even acknowledge Black women anymore. I walk right by them. And that's coming from me. I won't even acknowledge them. I won't even hold the door open for them. You know, a couple of days ago, I had a terse interaction with a sister who I was trying to ask her if she was going to use the 45s that were on her rig, on her Smith machine, because I was getting ready to violate my doctor's orders and go all the way up to 315 benching. I had headphones on, so I took mine off. She takes hers off when she sees me saying something. And she looks at me and says, listen, I ain't got time for your bullshit today. Okay.
Wow.
All right. Now she's in the mirror filming herself, posing so they can see her ass. Okay. Now, I said what I was trying to ask your obese ass was this. If you were going to use these fucking 45s, because you ain't done a single workout move since you've been next to me. Okay, well, who are you calling obese? I'm calling your fat ass obese. Okay, well, disrespect me like that. She's in the midst of talking. I grabbed her fucking phone and threw it, okay, against the window, one of the plate glass windows that we have at the gym. Who the fuck are you? And what makes it worse is that I see this hesitation. I'm 53 fucking years old. I see this hesitation amongst Black women to speak from 60 all the way down to 16. I've given them up. And unfortunately, when I've given you all and then I give you up, okay, there's a part of me that almost wants to see one of those white men. Hey, you can hate that, sure. It ain't just one woman though. This has been I work on an HBCU campus, and I can tell you that Black women have become horrible, so self-centered and what have you, that you almost hope for an incident so that you can see in their face the look of, would you please help me? That they are going to immediately send to Black men. They don't act as if they belong to us, but they want that veneer of protection from us when the deal goes down. No, and it's certainly not all Black women. However, I'm tired. And I'll give you, and I'll end with this story. It was the first day of my semester, and I was on my way. I was in my office. I always arrive 3-4 hours early and prepare for class. And I had forgotten something in my car. So I turn around, leave my office, have to walk all the way back to my car. I grab the stuff, and I'm walking towards a window that I can see the traffic behind me through the reflection of the window. I go up to the door. There are 3 African American girls. These are college students. And I hold the door open for them. As they pass through, one of them says, "See, even old niggas be trying to look at your ass. Look at him trying to holler."
Wow.
I go to my office, grab my stuff, and I head back down to my class. And I walk into my class. I walk to the front of the class, and lo and behold, those 3 females are sitting in seats waiting for class to begin. Now, after class is over, they're immediately here in my face trying to explain what it is that they, what they meant in X, Y, and Z. There's an absence of respect, of discipline, of belief. And to be absolutely honest, we're coming across girls, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 years old. We're so angry that anger cannot be genuine. It is anger that has been socialized into them by their mothers, by possibly their aunts and their grandmothers, hearing these stories of how Black men have done them and their lineage so wrong. And the greatest example, one of the greatest examples for me, and this was for years, the anthem of bothered, angry Black women. Erykah Badu's Tyrone, you better call Tyrone. She did an interview recently where she talks about the idea that song was actually a freestyle. And it was a compilation of the stories she had heard around their kitchen table from her aunts. Okay. And I see messages of how can we fix this. And the truth of the matter is, it takes me full circle back to what I originally said. And it takes both of us. The Black father is supposed to be the first love of his daughters. We see Black women raising their daughters to the best of their ability, but loving their sons. We need Black men who are there, who are loving their daughters and raising their sons, so that her first and most consistent interaction with a Black man is a loving father or grandfather, preferably father. But what we have now, and I don't even deal with white women. They're not a part of my community. They're not a part of my concern. They're not a part of my village. I would imagine that they are worse than Black women. But I can say that at this point in my life and where I am right now, I pay no never mind to Black women anymore, because they have to prove to me that they're not crazy before I'll even acknowledge them. And it's unfortunate, and this is me saying this. I've been on this battlefield for decades, and this is bad now, and I mean really bad. And I yield, my brother.
Wow, that's deep, Doc. That is deep. And actually, you talked about, you gave an entrance to what our program on Wednesday is going to be about. Yeah, you let the cat out of the bag. I was watching a video today doing research, and I saw where this sister was calling the police on the brother, and she's laying in the bed and he's filming, and she's like, he's coming after me, he got a gun, he got this, and he's like, she's lying, she ain't got none of this stuff. You know, she walking around the house and she walks downstairs, he's following me everywhere I go, you know, talking to the police, and it's like she's trying to get this man killed. And so, you know, seeing that video and knowing that there's other brothers out there who had that type of experience.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the thing is, if I can interject for 1 second, although it may not be fair, The onus is upon black women to straighten that shit out, because black women need to begin to filter that type of foolishness and the foolishness that I'm talking about through the idea that, as Malcolm says, I'm a good old country boy. They never made me sad. It's only made me glad when the chickens come on the roost. You continue to allow these black women to wild out like they do on black men. One day it will be your son, your grandson, who is the victim of that type of behavior. Now, if you want to talk about black men, I'm more than open and conversant to talk about black men, but I'm talking about black women right now. Many black men have, not all, as you put it, have their own issues that they have to deal with. And I don't rush to defend black men as we see black women rush to defend other black women, when you know in your heart of hearts that what is being said is true. And I often ask people, do you know of black women that you would hook one of your loved ones, one of your relatives that you like, up with? Okay? For a relationship. And invariably, I come across so many sisters that say, oh, hell no. Which lets me know that you know them and you know what they're doing. And so, once again, I don't just blame one. It goes both ways. Okay, black men have their own issues. Black women have their own issues. But me as a black man, you will not hear me ever say, but what about black women? Deal with that shit right there. Okay, and allow black men to address and deal with what they have to deal with. And one of the things that black women will probably be really surprised to find out, and I like that the commentary of, we were in the barbershop clowning this brother. That's in many ways where a lot of the correction and socialization for black men occurs, in a male-centric space that black women are not privy to. So you're not aware that it's even occurring. But the majority of black men are not the ones who are out here wilding out, having all of these children. So many black women are actually having children by the same brothers. That's how you can come up with a black man that's got 9 baby mamas and 13 kids, because he's the one that gets their panties wet. That's the fact. And I yield.
Awesome. Thank you, Doc. Thank you, Sister Cassie. Thank you to our chat audience. All y'all have been awesome. You know, dealing with that part with what Brother Bakari brought up, that brother is an abused man.
Yes.
He's being abused. And that's a reality that has to be confronted and destroyed. It has to be confronted and destroyed. And, you know, we hope to, on Wednesday, when we're dealing with these issues, come out and be able to give the brother good guidance, you know, because if one brother is going through it, more than one is going through it.
Without a doubt.
And you know, we have to repair the black man. You got to repair the black woman too. It goes without saying, but there's a problem in our relationships. You know, woman, you can't destroy the black man, because that's going to be your help. That's going to be your protection. But you destroy the man, what the hell do you got? Nothing. And so, like Doc said, when that cracker come, then you be looking for a black man, and then he ain't there to help you, because you done destroyed your protection. So, you know, it's a lot of work that has to be done. And, you know, we're going to dig into this topic. And, you know, we invite you all out to come and participate as normal. Because we got to bring out the answer. And we got to give the weakness strength. We got to give the scared the boldness to do what need to be done. And, you know, you may love your partner all day long, but if you're in an abusive relationship, they don't love you. They don't love you. And that's something that you're going to have to deal with. And that may be a hard pill to swallow, but they don't love you and they abuse you. They don't. And then they trying to call a cracker and say you got a gun and you got this and you got that. They trying to get you killed. And that's real. So we better wake up and understand the time and what must be done. Thank you, family, for joining us. As we always say, you kill the nigga in you, I'm going to kill the nigga in me, and our God will reign supreme. We are Black first, today, tomorrow, and forever. Love you, family. Peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom.
Peace.